City Commission meeting of here in South Dakota on Monday, August 1st, 2022. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Weinreich.
Here.
Gregg.
Here.
Robish.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda approval. Do we have any additions or deletions or corrections to our agenda that you know of tonight? Any commission, anybody? Well, that's a rarity.
Move to approve the agenda.
Move to approve by Commissioner Smith. Need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Robish. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay. Public forum. Public comments may be sent during a live meeting broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed on the city's website at www.huronsd.gov.com. Click on Government and then City Commission. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with YouTube and Gmail or use your existing accounts. Please state your name and address for the record. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Do we have any public forum comments tonight?
Mayor, do you want to bring up National Night Out tomorrow?
I sure can, I guess.
Commissioner Robish?
Oh, thank you. Tomorrow night is National Night Out at Prospect, wait a minute. Campbell Park. Campbell Park, all right. Fun, a little bit of food and a little bit of games for, not just for kids, but mainly for kids. But yeah, it's hosted by our FOP, Order of Police, so come on out. There'll be displays of ambulance, fire trucks, police cars, lots of different stuff. So, I believe it starts at 5.
Yes.
Yes, 5 to 8 p.m.
Yep. All right, thank you. It's always a good event. I hope we don't get heated out tomorrow night. It's supposed to be pretty warm tomorrow, so please take that into consideration when you come. With that also, I have a presentation tonight for our water department. I'd like to have the water department people come up and presentation of Okay. This is from Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources in Pierre. For 21 consecutive years, the City of Huron public water system has met the requirements of Safe Drinking Water Act and State of South Dakota's regulations. 21 consecutive years of supplying safe drinking water to the public is a remarkable achievement. It is our pleasure to present to you the Secretary's Award for Drinking Water Excellence and recognize your system and the system operations specialists that have demonstrated excellence in our water system management maintenance. So with that, I'd like to present Rob a certificate of awards for that. And each one of the workers that are here tonight, would you introduce them, please?
We got Aaron Rogers, Dave Lemke, Garrett Welch, and Bruce Hartley.
Okay.
There's 15 of us that provide safe drinking water and sewer maintenance.
Good. And each one of these people, all your people will get a certificate.
Yep.
Also. I agree with those already. So, with that,
We're all pretty wide. So.
yeah. Some of them are good looking though. You know that?
1, 2, 3.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Just do that in my mailbox tomorrow.
And here's
Thank you.
all right.
All right. Yeah,
It just feels like they're probably done.
Randy said he's got it. It's covered.
All right. Thank you for those fine gentlemen for doing that work for us each year. Greatly appreciate it. I remember years ago, we didn't have very good water, and now we have excellent water. Proud of it too. So I think as citizens, we all should be proud of how far our water, drinking water has come over the years. So with that, we'll move on. Consent agenda. Consent agenda, matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. I'm going to stop for just a minute and go back, and I think I forgot to mention that HR director is on the computer in the back of the room. If you want to use your Gmail or something to ask a question, Nathan will take a look at it, and we'll try to answer your question for you tonight as best we can. So I'm sorry to mention you before, Nathan. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. 4.1, minutes of July 25th, 2022 commission meeting. 4.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 4.3, raffle for American Legion Post 7, November 11th at the Huron High School Auditorium. 4.4, personnel items, recommending hiring Krista Liebnow for Broadland Creek Pro Shop. 4.5, payment of the bills. I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Commissioner Weinrich, motion to approve. Need a second?
Second?
Second, Commissioner Robish. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinreich.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Bid quote items, 5.1. We are honored tonight to have our city engineer, Brett, with us, and he's going to move on and talk to us about 5.1. We're going to call on Brett quite a bit tonight.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this first one here, I'll read through it. Consider payment request number 17 to Gritter Construction, Inc. for bid number 2021-05, Phase 1 wastewater treatment facility improvements in the amount of $429,130.35. This is the 17th pay application. We're over 80% payment on the project here now, or pushing 90. But basically, all equipment is on site and stored, so we paid for that equipment that's sitting on site and ready to be installed. The project's moving along well. The pre-treatment improvements portion of the project are essentially complete. A couple of little startup items there, but essentially they're out of that building. All the, when we move out to the east there in the SBR basins that they're pouring, all the concrete tanks, all the concrete has been poured. And they're have water tightness tested those tanks, and now they're inside, they're installing equipment. So things are moving along. The schedule is getting very tight on the contractor. We've seen that at the last progress meeting. He's starting to get a little nervous. The substantial completion date for the project is October 3rd. So the final completion is November 30th. So he's sitting pretty good on final. October is getting a little tight for him. So, but things are moving well. We recommend approval of this pay application.
Move to approve the payment.
I move to approve. Commissioner Bragg, need a second on this item?
Second?
Second, Commissioner Smith. Any discussion on this item? Yes, Commissioner Smith.
So Brett, when we turn the valve on this project, what fireworks can we expect out of it? I mean, is our toilet gonna flush faster, or what's going on?
Yeah, we've deliberately tried to lessen the fireworks with the finish of this project, right, to minimize that. So we're fortunate with our lagoon system that we don't need to discharge directly to the James River, so we have some buffer there when we start up with treatment. So there's gonna be an acclimation period there when the tanks first get started up and the bugs kind of gotta grow and basically develop, right, acclimate to the environment. And through that process, our plan is to dedicate a couple of the cells to receive that. As a user, the residents, city of Huron, should experience no change, no issues with your flushing of the toilet or anything there.
There you go.
Basically,
Yeah.
you won't know anything's going on.
That's kind of what I'm asking, is
Yep.
what the users could expect out of it, but there's no effect to the.
There should be no
user.
effect on the users, that they know, none the wiser of what's going on, I guess, at that point, right? And that's, but as far as, you know, we're careful that we don't want to discharge anything that doesn't meet requirements by the South Dakota Department of Agriculture, the EPA, right? So
Yep.
we've established for that, and we've got some buffer there with those lagoons where we can hold that. Wetlands, right now, we talked to them about the current wetlands, and actually, they need to start filling some of those wetlands. We have some room there because some of those wetlands have been drying up here right now, and I think we're really only filling one right now, and there's 3 main ones, I believe, so.
Interesting. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. All right, Engineer Runge, 5.2, please.
Consider the following items for Mending Excavating, Inc. Bid number 2021-01, water main replacement. The first item here is construction change order number 2, final, for a net decrease of $68,492.50. So this is the water main project that we bid last year, 2021, and to basically make the project more attractive to bidders and stuff, we extended completion into July of this year. So they've completed the project, and everything went well on it, and this is the final change order, basically balancing quantities that weren't used on the job. So it's a decrease of $68,492.50. Do we need approval on that first, or move on to
Do
that?
them as one.
What's that? Okay, so
That's
then the
okay.
next item that's listed there is payment request number 2, final, in the amount of $331,756.18. So this would be the final pay request then, and it would close out the project. We recommend approval of both the final change order and pay request.
Need a motion?
Move to approve bid 2021-01.
Mr. Robish, motion to approve. Need a second on this item.
Second.
Second, Mr. Weinrich. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 5.3, Brett, another one.
Consider the following items for Flat Rate, Inc., bid number 2022-07, crushing of stockpiled concrete and asphalt. The first item is construction change order number 1, final, for a net decrease of $5,299. Again, this is just a balancing of quantities. When we bid out this project, we had estimated 6 ton of crushing. There was not quite a full 6 ton there, so we basically reduced the quantity so that the contract could be final out balanced. The second item listed there is payment request number 1, final, in the amount of $36,701. This is under budget and is complete. We recommend approval of the final change order and of the final pay request.
Move to approve bid number 2022-07, including the net decrease.
Commissioner Bragg moves to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Pest, second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. We're going to back up to 5.2 just for a minute to say how much we appreciate the net decrease of $68,492. I should have done that in the first, I was so dazzled by it, I didn't do it that time, but we do appreciate that all the way across the board. Anytime you can do that, we'll maybe dance or something, I don't know.
Well, and that's, the credit for that goes to the engineering staff. They've really taken pride in the projects here of trying to put together design that, you know, we try to limit our surprises, and they've done a great job. Really proud of them.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate it. Okay, petitions and communications, 6.1, and I believe Commissioner Robish is going to talk to us about this.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I talked with the fire chief, and he did the inspection, and the fire chief and the building inspector, whatever, and they went through these trailer courts, and they are up to meeting the codes and requirements, I guess, so. Sorry about that. So I would move to approve 6.1. There's 5 different trailer courts.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second by Mr. Weinrich. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 6.2, I believe our financial director, Pauline Carey's going to talk on 6.2.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is the agreement with the Crossroads Hotel and the Huron Event Center in regard to utilities. With the new owner, we had to have them go through and sign this agreement as well. There was no changes. They accepted it as the same with the new owner. I believe we got signatures last week. So we are just looking for approval to move on, keep moving forward with the Huron Event Center and the new owners of the Crossroads.
Okay, need a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Weinrich, motion is approved. Second, Commissioner Robish. Any discussion on this item?
I just.
Yes, Commissioner Smith.
I apologize, Tucker, I didn't read this real closely, but is there an expiration on those terms? Other than when there's a mutual breakup of the contract?
There is not an expiration on these terms. This was previously in place with the previous owner, and this is just to, no changes were made. It was just a change in ownership.
I think those formulas were kind of crafted when the previous owner took over as far as the usage percentages, so I didn't, unless something changes structurally, it should stay the same, I would think.
Yep.
That's
And
the projection, talking about Dennis.
Yeah. Okay, thank
So
you.
what would, to Commissioner Smith's point, so let's say 5 years from now, if we feel like, that, you know, what's our remedy to go back and approach them and say we'd like to make a change in that?
So you have 30 days, I think, within the contract to do that. And usually, like Brenda's keeping track, it's, you know, it's the utilities, it's the water sewer that's connected. They actually allow us access to look at their accounts. Now, I'm not sure if they're still doing that or not, but previous owners allowed us into their accounts to pull that information.
But yeah, so just if, to Brian's point, later on, if we found they were, say, hosting things or using the space differently, that we didn't think that was equitable any longer, what would we?
We'd have 30 days to let them know.
yeah, we'd give them 30-day notice.
Thanks.
See no other discussion, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 8.1, Engineer Brett Runge, would you introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have representatives here from Houston Engineering, Inc. They were hired by the city to complete a study on the existing solid waste transfer station. And Dale's getting very nervous about the condition of his existing baler, so we have Dennis McAlpine and Bart Schultz here to present on their findings of the study. And after they're completed with the presentation, then we would like to ask for acceptance of the study and of the recommendations from the city is what we would agree to. So I'll let these guys roll, and
Thanks.
they're gonna.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Bart Schultz. I'm a senior project manager from Houston Engineering, and Dennis is a project manager for this project. So we started working with Dale and his staff and Brett and Commissioner Bragg since last spring, where we were hired to look at the facility and evaluate options for what to do with a facility that's 40-plus years old. So this was some of the background information. This was the interesting part about this. This shows where waste is transferred in South Dakota. And you'll see Huron there as the orange circle. And what Huron currently processes is about 25 ton per day. And Waste Management, who also handles waste here and transfers waste out of here, also handles 25 tons per day. So if Waste Management were ever to leave, the city would then take over that responsibility for that waste. And you'll see Pier in the middle there, they handle currently about 50 ton per day. So if Waste Management were to leave, you would be similar in size to Pier for handling the waste. And one of the things that is pretty obvious for those of you who have been at the facility, and I'm sure most of you have visited the facility, is that they're crunched for space. And this is, I know this breaks all the rules on PowerPoints, right, all the words, but the point of this is your facility right now. And some of the things I want to point out is first, that it's 40 years old. It's approximately 40 to 45 years old, the building age. So one of our partners, NP5, are architects, and part of our evaluation was for them to come out and look at the building and just assess, based on their expertise, the remaining life of this facility. And he figured that the city would have maybe 10 years of life left in the facility if we didn't do any improvements to the building itself. Another important fact is, right now, on an average day, they're dealing with at least 90 customers per day. And with the 25 tons per day, and as you know, the waste that's generated nowadays is pretty diverse. You have a lot, you can have everything, including the kitchen sink, show up in the waste, right? So the thing that has been exemplary is Dale and his staff have been able to operate this 40-year-old facility with equipment that's also 40 years old, and being able to service the community and service anything that's coming through that front gate. And again, this is just some of the other facts of what's going on at the facility. And again, I've been involved in the waste industry since 1980, is when I first started as a design engineer. And what they do at this facility is pretty impressive, how they can handle the amount that they have to handle with the equipment and the layout. So that was our charge, to help them assess the existing facility and look at options to move forward for the facility that would service the city for the next 40 years. So it was really a collaborative approach with them, where we came out, we spent time with the operators, so we could see how they were, the challenges that they were dealing with and the material that they were dealing with, and really verifying some of the things that was happening at the facility. So this is your facility. This is a layout of the facility for those of you who have been out there. We have, you enter at the entrance, you are met by the scale operator, and then she directs you to places where you're going, whether, depending on if you have recyclables or MSW or demo. So there's a lot of activity going on in this area. There's a lot of traffic, and so to get everyone to the right place is challenging, especially on Saturdays when everyone is cleaning out their garage. So these are just some pictures of what the facility looks like inside. And the baler, which is also right there, being 40 years old. So it's tired. It's tired, and the one thing that's keeping that baler going is Dale, because he's the only one that knows how to fix it when it's broke. So what we did to start off is we sent out a questionnaire to all the stakeholders and just asked them about the facilities, the good things, the things that they would like to see changed, the things that they felt would service the city better. And we looked at staff, we looked at people that use it, we looked at a lot of stakeholders and gathered information on what they wanted to see this next facility look like. And I'm going to turn it over to Dennis, and he's going to talk about the 3 options and how we got to that point.
Yeah, thanks, Bart. So, part of that stakeholder input, engaging with, facility staff, I think that they challenged us about as much as we challenged them. So in terms of getting the dollar out of it, there was a fair and healthy exchange of ideas on the team. So when we say stakeholder input, to hearken what Bart said, facility staff has done a lot with the facility, and when we talk about challenging your current facility, it's by no means, being critical of staff. They're doing a lot with what they have. There's a lot of words up on the screen there, but really those challenges, there's 2 main ones at the facility, and one is traffic flow. There is an awkward turn when you come in. It is very congested, and the traffic flows to separate commercial, residential is difficult, so a lot of congestion. Secondly, there is not a lot of pass-through functionality in the building. You can't drive through the building, so you have this traffic, everybody backs into the building, and the tipping floor is really small, so everything has to be processed really quickly. So when we look at improvements, those are two primary areas that you need to look at in terms of pushing this facility into the next 40 years. The baler probably being at the top of the list of those needs and wants. It has lived beyond really its functional capacity. Its life is Dale's life, so he is the lifespan of that. So identifying a facility that has new equipment in it. We'll share some examples, the cost estimates for the concepts. I think something to be mindful of when we look at those is that the costs associated for those, there's scale and a baler and all that equipment is across all of those options. If you did nothing, you will also have that cost. So you can't, if your do nothing is still a number. So then we'll get to that when we get to the cost estimates. So, needs, there's some smaller needs in terms of the lighting and signage, but again, a lot of it is just that function, the pass-through, separating commercial residential flows, and the function of the building. So prior to starting in on the design and after, doing that questionnaire, we wanted to take staff to look at some other facilities. If anything, to give them perspective. You can get stuck in your ways if the only thing that you have knowledge of is the thing that you're doing. So to see how other people are doing it. So we took staff and we went and looked at a few facilities, and Pier being one of the obvious ones, and that's where you transfer your waste to now. It's a good design. They have a lot. We took a lot of things from Pier, as you'll see later, when we show you the concepts, because they do a lot in a very small footprint. They do a great job of separating their commercial and their residential flows on their facility. They also have a really unique after-hours drop-off that we're able to incorporate in your design as well. We wanted to provide a picture of their tipping floor. So this is where, whether it's commercial or residential, they're coming in and they're actually dumping waste. And this is a great vantage point to show really the scale of their facility. If you were to back up a couple slides and you look at your facility, it's very congested. You actually have trouble closing a door in the winter if you were to back in a vehicle. So, you know, this just gives you, there's a loader, there's actually 2 loaders in that picture. So you can see they have a lot of flexibility in their facility to accommodate, you know, changed conditions in different vehicles. Again, you know, another picture of them being able to stage material, so they don't have to do something immediately. You know, right now your staff has to act immediately when some type of load comes in and is dropped on the floor. You need to process it because there's no other space. This one, they do have a unique, they're able to take their truck, their transfer trailer truck, and it is indoors, so winter, you know, cold weather operation, they can accommodate that without any issues with freeze up. Again, another great design component. We also went and looked at Yankton. If you recall back to the slide where we showed South Dakota and all of the dots on it, Yankton does transfer a significant amount of waste. Granted, their transfer is not all that far. It's just a Vermilion, but they do a lot with their site as well. Their site has, you know, similar challenges to yours in that, you know, really everything has to back into the facility. You know, they do have a little bit more room inside their building, but the traffic, you know, traffic pattern is a challenge in that, you know, they're asking folks that might not do well with a trailer to have to hop into, you know, John Q. Public's vehicle and, you know, help them back up. So, which I believe is probably a challenge that, you know, Huron has as well with the layout of the building. Here's just the front facade of Yankton showing a truck, you know, coming in, turning around and backing up. We did go look at another facility in New Ulm. This happened to be a recycling center. This is a different piece of equipment. You have a baler. This is a stationary compactor. Just, it was something to challenge staff to maybe think about a different piece of equipment, you know, in the same building. Still serves, you know, a similar operation. It's just a different piece of equipment. You can see they pack material in a trailer and then remove the trailer as opposed to a bale. So with that as our foundation, as our basis, we went and developed 3 alternatives. And the 3 alternatives were in no order of number or importance, but one was go look at a facility that's not related with current operations. It's like an open box. It could be anywhere. What would this look like for us? And that's option 1. What you'll see in some of the colorization here is, you know, operations that we're doing to separate the facility. I know it's really small. You can maybe see it, you know, on your printout. But, you know, we wanted commercial in an area. This happens to be residential. This is commercial. This is the, you know, baler and equipment. There's have some storage over here and some maintenance. So starting to identify the different traffic patterns on the site in order to get this, you know, less congestion. So this is the architectural layout. This is the civil layout that really gives, you know, a better understanding of the traffic flow. And you can see the line work with all of the turning movements of the various vehicles. You know, things that are similar to what you currently have. There is one scale. Everybody comes in off of the highway to this one scale, and you route through the building very similar to what Pier is. This happens to be in this corner, they're residential. You wrap around and you do, you know, commercial, separating those flows. This is an at-grade customer drop-off that we've integrated into the design. Right now, you know, you have some of this function. Granted, it's really congested. So again, opening this up so that you're separating these flows for less congestion. We've incorporated a after-hours drop-off. This is something that Pier does very well, where the facility is closed. They happen to use it for you know, woody debris and their you know, composting operation, where they'll have customers drop off. This does have a kiosk. There are keys that they do give out, so the facility staff doesn't have to be there. It can happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we've incorporated that into all of these designs. This alternative here happens to be north of the current facility, so it's off 4th Street. Community gardens are to the east, just for reference on this one. So that's alternative number 1. Alternative number 1 does come in at that $6.7 million. You know, reminded there's roughly $1 million of that is equipment. Again, if you did nothing with your current facility, you still need to have $1 million to replace, you know, balers and scales and all other stuff. These are 2022 numbers, so we did not take the process, who knows what's going on in the economy and inflationary pressures, to put anything forward, you know, thinking on that. If you decided to move, and I understand you have a vote later on, you know, next steps, I mean, if you were to fast track this project and pick any one of these alternatives, there's a possibility this could be a 2023 construction. It's likely this is a 2024 project. So roughly 2 years you would add on to these numbers.
Did Dale know that? Just heard him hit the floor.
We'll start. Just the, you know, the hardships with, you know, lead times and equipment, you know, if you were to order a baler today, you know, it might take a year for it to show up. That's before we've done anything beyond, you know, the conceptual design process. Alternative number 2. So this is trying to maximize the utility and the function of the current building. So this is an addition onto the existing facility. So the existing facility is to the left of your screen here. This is the old building, and we are adding on this portion. You can see we are doing a similar process where we are separating the residential and the commercial traffic. We are trying to utilize the location of the baler, really in its current location. You know, really the challenge with the existing building, which, you know, it was designed in a different era. It was when waste was handled differently. In that, you know, this addition over here, it's really difficult to know how to incorporate that with anything that you would do now with your current operation and be able to have that accommodate any future expansion. You know, this is a top load facility. If it had some function where you could drive through, drive around, right now you have to back up into it. So, you know, this one is, even out of the gate, you know, this one is a compromise. You're getting that utility and that function, but it is very limited with the existing building. So here we're at our civil layout. You know, we've incorporated a lot of the same, you know, this after hours drop off, you know, an at-grade bin, and maybe I can do a better job of explaining this. You know, this is an opportunity here where you separate facility operations from, you know, customer drop-offs. This is grade separated. So the customer drives here. These bins are 4 feet lower on the other side. Customers do not go down here, only the facility does. You know, a really great example is Rapid City. If you've ever been to Rapid City site or want to Google it, Google Earth it, they have a really great function in the layout and how they separate that, where it's very efficient. So the facility can come in and replace bins, people dump stuff into bins. There's no interaction between the facility staff, their equipment, and John Q. Public. With this design, we do get rid of the awkward turn movement. As you come in currently and you have to do a 90-degree turn to come back, we've shifted the entrance further to the east so that you don't have to immediately make a turn, you know, off of the scale. This option does utilize, you know, the function of your compost pad, which is here. Very early on in the process, we asked how sensitive we were to the compost pad, and it was a do not touch it, it can't move response. So you have invested a fair amount of dollars into this. So this option, you know, it does complement that existing, you know, placement of it, and your baling or your rubble operations. You know, you have your demo operations here too. So there's you know, continuity with that. That said, you don't have a tremendous amount of life in your current rubble pit. You know, 15 to 20 years. You just had a large storm this spring, and you know, probably consumed a few years off of it just with the additional volume. So a challenge with this layout is this box right here. There is existing waste here. There's you know, you guys have been processing waste here for a long, long time. You know, this is a significant cost to remove this. It likely, you know, some waste would have to be removed. You could not dispose of it here. It would need to be trucked to here. So significant cost with this one, and the number 3 design that we'll get to. Number 2 is the cheapest, but then again, it provides you really the least amount of flexibility. Provides you almost no ability for expansion beyond this 40 years. So when we're people are sitting in this room 40 years from now, and if you chose this one, there's really nothing you can do at that point. You have totally maxed it out. What also it does not include is any of the hassle factor that the staff would have to do. Whatever you choose, you know, the waste doesn't stop, so you're still accepting waste. This one, out of all three options, is the most cumbersome in that how do you maintain operations, build onto it, and it's, you know, immediate, it's right next to you. So lots of hassle factor with this one. It's hard to price hassle factor.
I think too that you were at 15, what was the tonnage on this one? I forget, 15,000 a year? Through this, there's a difference too, because the sizes of.
Yeah, this one, there is a slight, there is a
5,000
reduction.
less
There's a
for
reduction.
expansion.
Yep.
So, as we move forward too.
Yeah, there is a limitation on that. You know, again, as Bart was saying earlier, if Waste Management decided to leave and you become peer, you know, this is slightly smaller than the other two, you know, alternatives. It's just, there's just too many constraints with that addition, so it's not as wide open. You're having this little jut out on the side, so.
Where does Waste Management take their rubble
They're
now?
going to Gwinner right now. The Rebel comes to us, but their municipal solid waste goes to Gwinner, North Dakota, which is twice as far as what we're hauling. And we currently pick up customers every month because their cost has gone up tremendous also. So if the person can get out of a contract, we're picking up those big contracts and even seeing other haulers come in and take away some of those contracts and come to us too, so.
Has any discussion been held with them in this expansion of?
Well, their landfill is ran and operated by them. So in order for them to come out of their own landfill, it probably won't happen. We have talked to them in the past years about, would you tip on our, if we had a facility, and that would be something that they would have to look at the rates. So that goes back to the tipping rates and what we would charge. But whether they would sit down right now until we had that number, I doubt it. So, but it is an option if we are equal to, but you gotta remember, they're running their landfill, wanting their tonnage to come to them also. So to keep their operations going too. But I think if you come in competitive, that would be something that they would look at.
Yeah.
You know, really our effort has been really blind to, you know, a rate analysis or a rate study or any of that economics.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah,
we're
we're
pretty
just trying to
focused on
handle
the, you know, really on the operation.
Yeah.
But great question. Alternative 3 is a halvesy, I guess, between 1 and 2, in that you are using, there's still life left in the building. This is the existing building. There's an opportunity to have some of that drop off, whether it's residential, you know, indoors for a while, but you're still building a new facility to the north. This is the same size as the northern facility, which is by its lonesome. So this is truly, you know, a bonus when you're looking at 3 in this added space. Again, we struggle with the functionality of this, you know, top load grade separated here. How do we do something with that? So, you know, it is really underutilized. There's not much we can do with it. A lot of the same functionality with that after hours drop off, grade separated bins for the residential, you know, changing the access so you don't have these, I guess, complicated turning movements when you come in. We're separating the residentials. You know, this is residential commercials. It does get rather large just to make all of these movements around. You know, the added cost of this one is really a lot of the hardscape on the outside. In terms of its, you know, real complexity, you know, it is directly adjacent to the compost pad. That, you know, there may be some odor issues just as you're turning piles and you're just directly adjacent to it. So probably not ideal from a location siting standard. This one also has the same waste impact where you would likely have to remove some of this waste. So we're about 6.9, roughly 7 $7 million, again, includes all of the equipment that would be included in the others. So what came out of this, you know, we vetted these three, you know, discussion with staff was a refinement of number one. And it really turned out to be, you know, that is our recommended concept. It does refine number one in a couple of ways. It does provide for a grade separated, a dock height loading bay here. We have rotated the building 180 degrees, so you come in from the west and circulate around. You still have all of the same at grade, the customer drop off here, but you've given yourselves a little more flexibility with this, really for you know, cardboard loading. And there's an opportunity for maybe that stationary compactor in the future, if that's how, you know, the facility wanted to maybe treat some of their cardboard or recyclables, that could be integrated. You know, this design does provide the maximum amount of flexibility, both in current operation and for potential expansion. So you have none of the hardships with the, you know, the in-place waste. It's likely that your rubble operations will transition, you know, south of the facility here, you know, in roughly a 20-year period. So in 20 years, you'll be doing all of your operations in the one space. You know, it is one of the more costly, but then again, you're getting the most, you know, function and utility from it.
Is this 2022 numbers as well?
These are, all numbers are 2022 numbers.
Where was that again, did you say?
So this is that same northern footprint. You know, this is by the community gardens off of 4th Street. So basically, due north where the current facility is.
And is that modeled after the pier?
There's a lot of, you know,
Other similarities?
There's a lot of similarities, you know, that it's a good design. And, you know, I didn't put the slide in here, but, you know, if you take that customer drop off, which is really a Rapid City, and you take pier, you know, that's really what we did. We took pier and Rapid City and we made it Huron. Took the best of them and you know, and integrated into all of three of these options.
Because it seemed like even in the past, just, you know, with Dale and some other people touring the pier facility, you guys have always been very impressed with it.
Yeah. I think everybody throughout the state with the way they set it up, well, and Val kind of did the same. She went around and if we go with this concept, we'll have a lot of people marrying us also, just are coming here because now you included Rapid and Huron, you know. So each one of us kind of look at how others are doing when they do that. So Val used to have a smaller building until that burnt down. I mean, it was a little bit different arranged. So when they rebuilt that, they did change a little bit of the design and made it easier for them also. So, but it is a nice layout that they come up with. Especially keeping your commercial haulers, like for us right now, a lot of times our trucks are sitting there, or even some of our commercial trucks that come in from other haulers. They have to sit there waiting for the customers to go through the building, just because you can't back them in. They can't, you know, and you hate to have these people move over while all these trucks get in and dump and get on their way. So usually we have that bottleneck. This pier keeps it on the whole other side. They just drive right through, nobody has to back up. So it really works out good.
Is pier is landlocked with their rubble site land-wise for storage and so
They
on?
have, actually, their rubble site is out at their landfill. So everything that goes through their facility for rubble ends up going out in roll-offs to their landfill, and they have a rubble area. They do have a small area still up on the hill over there to the north of the facility that they'll do shingles and concrete. It's specific to certain contractors, is what it is.
Do we own all that property in 4th Street? Didn't we lease part of that?
We're leasing on the north side.
And the south didn't go?
South, we own all that.
There are some opportunities for project funding. You know, most likely one is through the Danner. They have to operate a $2 to $3 million fund or appropriation for waste type operations. As it relates to you, since you don't operate a landfill, there has to be some type of recycling twist to it. It is a small program, only $2 to $3 million that they allocate annually, but it's likely that you would get dollars via grant process for some of the equipment that you could use for that recycling aspects of your operation. There's a secondary here, the EPA through the Infrastructure Investment Job Acts. There's a grant process that is for solid waste infrastructure. It's in its infancy. They're still vetting how those dollars will be allocated. In our discussions with the Danner, it would not be facilitated through them. It would be applicants, municipalities like yourself that would directly apply for it. So, more to come on that one. And then your other ones are whatever you've saved in terms of funds, and then local bonding.
So really the purpose of this slide here is to show you, so right now we're at the concept stage right here. And so when you look at the cost estimates in the report, you'll see 30% contingencies. And really, that's typical what you see at the concept stage, where you have that range of contingencies because you have a lot of unknowns. So then as you go through the preliminary design into final design, your cost estimates get more precise at that point. And so really the next stage is really to move into that preliminary design where we can start refining some of those parts of the building and what the design will look like, the equipment, the placement of the equipment. So then we can get closer to what that cost estimate is, which you'll need as you go on and look at funding, either through the Danner or the bonding that you would probably do for part of the facility. So with that, I believe we're to questions.
What would be the timing of the project as far as preliminary work for site preparation to finish? Would that be a 6-month deal, a 1-year deal? Any idea?
I think if you fast tracked it and you started immediately here, you could get to a construction fall 2023. It's likely though if you didn't, this is a 2024 project. You do have some limitations of the lead time of the equipment. So, so we met prior to the commission meeting here and talking to staff. That's something that the city should consider as maybe getting a hold of some equipment or getting on a list, so that isn't your holding point.
The latest is we're probably a year to year and a half out on the baler. So.
Nice retirement gift for you there, Dale.
I won't even trade the old one in though.
You can take it.
You don't get a watch, you get the old baler.
Any other questions for these two gentlemen?
One more quick question, if we were to go with your recommended option, 1A and be on the new site, the existing facility would still be available for cold storage, and I know Dale has some ideas for that, but that is another advantage to moving off-site, is the current facility still has some usability then.
Yeah, that's really the highest value of that one, is that hassle factor, and that you can still continue to do your operations and build this facility. So, in terms of disruption to your operation, there's a lot of value there. And yes, you do have value in the building. We've not discounted that. We've not put in any pricing in for any type of demolition 10 years down the road, or what you would potentially use it for. But yes, cold storage, most definitely.
Any other questions?
And one more, just in terms of the dollars, they're 2022 numbers, so we have to factor in inflation, but you did have in your one slide, your contingency at this point is 30%.
Yes.
So, that's helpful. They're budgeting pretty high on, because they know we're at the early stages.
Yeah, I mean, within that 30, I mean, that's that design process, you know, there's 7 to 10, that's like an industry standard. You know, it's nothing, that's not a Houston engineering thing, but, you know, that's also in there, so.
We good?
So, yeah, thank you guys, I really appreciate that, Dennis and Bart. So as we went through this process, the city staff, we agreed with what they had come up with as they looked at these different concepts, these different approaches. And it just made sense, it all came together, that concept 1A just fit everything the best. And it's, you know, there's a cheaper option there with that concept 2 like we're talking, but we're limited on future growth. We're really trying hard to make that existing facility work for us. Naturally, we want to try to, you know, use the existing buildings if we can, renovate, but it's just, that's already been happening over the last year. That's kind of why it is kind of the oddball that it is at this point. So we agree with the recommendations, engineering and solid waste department, and we're basically, we'd like to ask the commission to approve acceptance of the report and approve the recommendations. And then from there, we would start moving forward with getting design fees and scopes to start moving to the next steps. So we ask for approval of the report and of the recommendations.
And I would make that as a motion.
Make that as a motion. Mr. Bragg, motion to approve, and Mr. Reiner, second on that item. Any more discussion on this item at all, guys?
One last real small comment too, that this is not just a new facility to replace the old one because it's 40 years old. There will be some significant improvements. You know, you're coming off of a paved road. If we move to the site, there'll be better drop off. There'll be that 24-hour drop off. You won't have residents and the commercial sharing the same space. The trucks will be able to get in, out, keep the door closed, which will save heating costs. So this really should be looked at as more than just the bare minimum of what we have to do because the old building's falling down. This will also come with some considerable improvements that will make both the staff and the residents coming using the facility, it will be much improved.
Good point, good point.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
So, very good presentation, and we've been talking about this for quite a few years. So if we're voting yay on this tonight, we're saying we're gonna go ahead, we're paying the bill. That's what I'm asking.
No, it would be to accept the report and the findings of the report. Then the next phase would be we're in budget now.
Right, that's
To
why-
budget for design.
that's why-
That's where your vote would be, are we gonna include this in our upcoming budgets? and
Right.
stuff?
We did budget this year for the design phase, that's in this year's budget.
That was approved last year
Right.
during design, so, but we don't have anybody under contract at this
Right.
point, so there will still be a time where we will get a scope and fee from a consultant, and the commission will, vote on that, approve that agreement, you know, and once you do that, then you're starting down that path that, you know, you don't wanna design something that you're not gonna do, right, so.
Right.
But no, this is just acceptance of the findings of the report and the recommendations.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Need a roll call vote, please.
Ed?
Aye.
Weinrich?
Aye.
Bragg?
Aye.
Rhodes?
Aye.
Mayor Harrington?
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
See you down the road, probably.
Thanks, guys. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're gonna move on to 8.2, and we have Dale come up and explain what 8.2 is. He's got the next two items, I guess. Don't do them both at the same time, just one at a time.
Okay, so the storm damage drop-off site, the old Dakota Park parking lot, we started hauling and cleaning that out today. We did put signs up saying that it's no longer opened on that side of the road to bring it to the Rebel site. So
And I have heard that already on the radio several times, that it's closed, so, we did have a few people pull in there today, and we just kind of directed them with the larger branches back over the scale operation. You want me to go into the citywide cleanup stuff too?
Let's see if there's any questions on this item here.
Okay.
Any questions for Dale on this? Have we done the clean up the arena parking lot?
Yep, we got that. This is the last large pile area, so.
But the small branches and yard waste to the north of the road, that's still
Yep.
open.
Yep.
So this would just be for the big stuff.
Right. Yard waste drop off and the small branches.
Answers my question. You can move on, Dale. We'll go to the next one.
The citywide cleanup for your utility bill for multiple loads is basically for the rubble, metal, the same things that you're allowed to bring out. This just is allowing you to bring multiple loads. So we've told people too that had the tree damage, that haven't had it brought out yet, that you can still come out. City residents, just bring your utility bill, multiple loads, you can bring it out. Allowing them to use it for their furniture, stuff like that also. So, and that's the whole month, well, till the 27th of August, is when we shut it down, right before fair. I think the biggest thing that we've talked about on this is trying to clean up before fair too. So take a little pride in your area of town and maybe get that stuff hauled out.
Well, it's already started today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And it wasn't really our thought when we planned this, but it does work out well too, that I know there have been some folks that have said they still have the root balls or the big
Yep.
heavy trees. Normally that would have to start going over the scale it costs now
Right.
today, but because of this, they can still, it's still free for the residents, they just have to know to bring it someplace different. But
Right, right.
Good. Any other questions for Dale? Okay, thanks, Dale. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dale.
Okay, we're moving on to a work session. And we're gonna talk about 9.1, a drainage request.